Tsunamis, tornadoes, wildfires. Have you seen natural disasters in the news?
Well, today we're going to cover all of the natural disasters that can affect the Evansville area.
Hey, I'm Kendra and this is Molly, and we are part of the Angel team and Remax Revolution, where we cover all things living in Southwestern Indiana. You're going to want to stick around for this.
Let's jump right into it.
So I think the best way to do this is just start off, going through each season and just talking about what we experience in the Evansville, Indiana area.
So let's start with spring. That's actually the season that we're in right now, and it has really kicked off with a bang in this area already. So far, we have dealt with tornadoes.
Yeah. So generally you see quite a bit of storm systems come through our area, and normally we're dealing with just like some severe thunderstorm warnings, maybe some hail and high wind. But this year we've really gotten our taste of some tornadic weather.
Yeah, so Mount Vernon really got hit last year. It actually destroyed an entire business. And unfortunately, a lot of homes were affected by it. And then even just last 2 weeks ago, we had multiple EF1s, EF2 go through the area. So if you are thinking about moving to the Evansville area, that's definitely something to think about when you're choosing a home. A lot of people like to have a basement in order to go to, but if you don't have the option of having a basement, there's interior rooms, or even people are getting to the point of installing storm shelters in their homes as well. They can build them into the garage where they can actually dig into the ground, or you can actually just put a structure in the corner of your garage that you can hide in as well.
Yeah, so I will say with that last tornado that just went through, it actually hit a family member's property and did some significant damage. We had a porch that had busted out windows, many trees down, and it was just amazing to see all the debris in the yard. But the tornado that actually went through that area was 150 yards wide, which is absolutely incredible. That is just a monster. If you think about a football field, that's a football field and a half wide of a tornado that went through and did quite a bit of damage in that area. The power lines were completely laid over into the field. So just
a lot of hail damage lately.
Yes.
Too. These storms have brought hail. Usually when we get hail, it's little pebbles that, nothing big, but these particular storms, they brought in, I saw examples online of almost at least bigger than golf ball.
Yeah, golf ball or more.
Yeah, so it can be damaging to cars. So again, when you're thinking about a home, maybe having garages or some sort of structure that you can park your cars under.
So another thing we see with these tornadoes or even high winds during severe thunderstorms is tree damage. A lot of trees are falling on houses, falling on garages, or even just in the yard. So maybe when looking at a home, you definitely want to consider the proximity of the larger trees to your home, consider potential roof damage and that kind of thing. It's definitely something to keep in mind when you're walking these homes.
Yeah, and I do feel like our local weather stations have really gotten good about giving us almost days in advance notice on when these particular storms are coming into the area. But even with this advance warning, we had one pop up last week where it hit Princeton without any warning at all. So it is something we have to take serious when we see thunderstorm warnings. I know it's very easy to start kind of ignoring all the warnings and watches that happen, but I think especially with everything that's happened in the last year, people are definitely taking it more serious when we get those warnings.
And I will say, I think it's definitely something to mention, the joke that, these people will sit on their front porches and, have their phones out and are watching that storm come in because they just have to have the good footage. And it's just kind of comical to see the jokes.
The typical Midwestern guy on his front porch drinking a beer, watching the tornado go by.
Yes, yeah. So it's definitely a thing that people kind of make fun of us for around here.
So another thing that so far we have dealt with in a spring weather has been flooding. Yeah. So along with those storms, we had record amounts of rain. I forgot how, it was over 12 inches of rain.
It was quite a lot, yeah.
And so I think we broke the 2008 or 2009 records. I don't think we've quite reached the 1937 flood levels, but definitely some record-setting rainfall in the last few days.
So, being in a river town, we talk about that a lot, being located on the Ohio River, that rain does affect our water levels with the river. And, as the river goes up and down, that can cause some flooding in our area. So it's definitely always wise when you are looking for a home to look at the flood maps, make sure you kind of know where you lie on that, scale, because, as the river just went up this last time, it really did affect quite a few homes, quite a few businesses, and closed a lot of roads, which is just something that a lot of people, this doesn't happen often, but when it does, it just really does affect the daily life for some people.
Yeah, and so if your home does fall into a floodplain, that is going to increase your insurance costs. So it is definitely something to look at whenever you're looking at a home. You want to know how expensive is that home insurance going to be to cover living in a floodplain. So something else to think about in the spring in southwestern Indiana, and I wouldn't actually call it a natural disaster, but when you have to deal with it, it probably feels like one to you, but it is spring allergy season.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things, I think it varies on the person on whether or not these really affect you as much. Some people are just really sensitive to some of the things that are in our air here locally. You know, we have a variety of seasons, and I think that just really messes with people's, allergies.
Yeah, right now when I walk out to my car in the morning, I literally see a layer of pollen on my windshield. So you've got allergies no matter where you live, but they actually do pollen warnings and things like that for us.
And so something to think about when you are looking at a house is, some houses do have, extra layers of protection for those sorts of things. You can always improve like your air filter for your furnace and that kind of thing too, to kind of help filter those allergens out of the air. But there's also whole home filters as well that can go in.
Yeah, we actually have one in our house. We have a son that deals with a lot of allergies, and we definitely noticed a difference whenever we installed that. So let's head into summer. Natural disaster wise with the summer, again, we have thunderstorms and things like that, but when I think of summer in southwestern Indiana, I think of the extreme heat that we can get.
Yeah, it gets pretty darn humid. We always look forward to summer and we're like, we can't wait to get out of that cold winter, and then it gets here and we're like, oh my gosh, it is so hot. And it just sometimes that humidity goes so high that it almost takes your breath away when you walk outside.
Yeah.
So there's definitely ways to beat the heat. I think probably the first thing you think of when it's that warm outside is probably something like Burdette Park. Getting there, they have a huge aquatic center. They have water slides, a kiddie pool area. It's just definitely a good way to just cool down in the summer. But also with our river, we have a lot of people that take advantage of boating on the Ohio River. And getting out there, you can ski, you can tube. There's a lot of beaches to hang out on. And again, just be in the water and kind of cool down.
Yeah, I enjoy going to the movies in the summer, sit in a cool dark room, and Showplace Cinemas in here in Evansville actually does a great job. They do like $1 summer kids movie program. Yeah. So they always have good classic children's movies that you can take the kids to for $1 a piece, which is great.
Some other fun things in the summer would definitely be like Sky Zone on Evansville's east side. We also have Urban Air, which is newer to our area, just to kind of beat the heat and be able to enjoy and burn some of that energy out if it's maybe a little too hot. Okay, so let's talk about fall.
So this one actually doesn't bring too much to mind. It's actually more of a mild season in the area, but we can actually have wide ranges of temperatures. It's kind of like one day you can be in t-shirts and shorts, and the next day you need to be in a sweatshirt and jeans. So
yeah, and I think this time of year always reminds me of the Westside Nightclub Fall Festival, and it's kind of one of those things where it's always a toss-up that first week of October of what is the weather going to be like. And I think that's like a big anticipation for a lot of people as they're watching that first week to see what that weather is going to be like. Like you said, you could have to dress up or dress down, and it's a big deal being outside like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like spring where we can have those pop-up storms, we can have pop-up tornadoes. We have had tornadoes even well into December. So I think it's those wide changes in the heat versus the cold that can kind of bring those storms in and create some havoc with that.
Yeah, but otherwise, there are a lot of nice fall days. I think that's probably the most enjoyable season in my opinion.
Yes.
You get a lot of nice sunny days. They're a little chilly, but not too crazy, and just enjoy being outside.
It's actually my favorite time to go to Holiday World up in Santa Claus, Indiana. It's about, from Newburgh, Evansville area, it's about an hour drive, and they have Halloween days up there. And so of course, by that time, Splash and Safari is closed down. It's too cold to do that, but it's kind of nice to enjoy the park without having the sweltering heat and everything like that. So now let's head into our last season and talk about how winter affects the area.
Yeah, so winter this last year was pretty darn crazy. I would say in a normal year, we experience a little bit of snow, some cold temperatures. And something to think about in our area is definitely if there's snow hit the ground, normally our kids are going to be out of school for at least a day to help give time for the road crews to come through. But this past year was quite a bang.
We had our Christmas break extended by an entire week because we had record-setting snowfall, then we had record-setting ice. I thought the kids were never going to go back to school this year.
It was a very long, trying time, and we made it. But yeah, that ice was something that I just honestly don't remember ever experiencing. It was literally raining ice. And, you know, for someone who lives out in the county, and we have a ton of trees, and it was honestly quite terrifying because this ice was hitting the trees and it was dropping limbs like crazy. We had a ton of trees down over the road. The roads became very inaccessible. And we actually lost power for about 4 days, which makes a good point of when you're looking for a home, a generator is definitely a great idea, whether it's a portable one or a whole home generator. It's definitely something that I feel like a lot of people in our area own.
Yeah, CenterPoint does a great job. They actually bring in trucks from all around to help get everybody back going. But like you said, it took almost, I think, a full week to get everybody back on power.
Yeah, and I mean, when it was that cold outside, you know, because you're talking, you know, below freezing temperatures, you know, and your house will only stay warm for so long. And I remember being so thankful that we had a way for, you know, our heat to turn on, because I know some people didn't have that and had to leave and go to a hotel, or they did have places open for the public, but it was a big
another
deal.
Advantage to having a wood burning fireplace in your house as well, because I know friends that stayed warm through that. Yeah. So another thing to think about is the roads get really slick. A lot of people don't know the best way to drive on those types of roads. So it's just taking caution when you get out and
slowing down. For sure. Yeah, because people are just so anxious to get out. You know, everybody has cabin fever and just so tired of being at home, and then they get out and just in a hurry, and it can really backfire because, as you said, the crews are doing the best they can, and but it does take time, especially with that much snow and ice.
And the school systems around here, they sometimes choose to completely cancel the day, but they have chosen to do some synchronous learning where your kids might be doing some school from home while they're snowed in.
So as a mom of 3, that was pretty entertaining. I had 3 kiddos all at the same time on a virtual class with their classmates, and those teachers did an amazing job, but it was definitely something different that they were glad to be back in school and in a normal classroom setting for sure. So we've covered all 4 seasons, and I think it's given a lot of good things to think about when you're looking for a home. But when you're ready for that home search, definitely reach out to the Angel team, and we would be happy to help set up a search that fits your needs and in your location.
And also, when you're ready to get pre-qualified, reach out to Paul Kastrup with Mortgage Masters. He can get you pre-qualified and get that search going for you. And we want to thank him for sponsoring this video.
Other than that, I think it's time to wrap it up and just remind you to like and subscribe this video so you don't miss any future content on all things living in Southwestern Indiana.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.